for the episode real quick. Even though we're
Yeah, I guess
live.
I could have done that.
What's that?
I guess I could have done that.
No big deal.
I think this is why we stopped doing the show.
But who cares?
Oh, freaking work.
No
Fuck.
big deal.
I want more. Are these things on? Checkity check, yeah.
We're live now?
Is it quiet to you guys, or is it just me?
Are we live now?
Oh, it's quiet for me.
Yeah, we're live, yeah. Tag teams back again. Party on, party. Oh, never mind. That's not what we're doing, is it?
No.
Different tag teams.
Good. Hello. Am I on?
Nope.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, I don't hear you. That's weird. Give me a couple checks, would you?
Check, check.
Oh, yeah, I hear you.
him.
What do you guys want to call the episode? Boy, we're so prepared. Just tag teams?
Greatest tag teams of all time.
And then lead in with, whoop, there it is, tag team back again. Weren't you just singing on it anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should. I think that was a sign.
It's an omen.
Yep.
That's an omen.
Okay. All right. Okay. I mean, all right. All right. Whenever, all right.
You should have received tags. Wait, I think I might be. I don't know if I'm friends with Tim to tag him or not.
Do you respect athletes that stay with their ugly girlfriends from college and high school?
No.
I respect them more.
You do?
No, not at
No
all.
respect for them?
No. Get your money. Get your piece. Go ahead. Get what you got to get. What are you sticking with her for?
Damn.
So you don't get to meet the new girl who is just going to get with you to take all your shit eventually.
Check.
But was that insecurity on the guy's part?
Check.
No. He just
Check.
thinks he needs to upgrade or whatever the fuck he's thinking.
Let me upgrade.
No, but being insecurity is thinking that the chick would only be into him because of the money and the fame and being an athlete.
Oh, no, you just have to have friends like us that tell you, well, like me, that tell you, no. Dude, you're not even good looking.
It's true. Who's doing you that favor?
Look, buddy. Let's be serious about things.
You
here.
play offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles. What makes you think that woman wants to be with you for any other reason?
Your face looks like a mud puddle. What the fuck are you talking about?
Jesus.
Like
Did you tell her about that lingering calf issue you have, Jason?
No, but you start looking at some of these.
Oh.
Like Harper was with his girlfriend from early on. She's cute, but she's not great.
Mhm.
Bryant, I think's girlfriend, his wife, she's not like overly hot.
She's got a weird nose.
Yeah, she's. I mean, like
Jesus Christ.
she's not what you think he would have, and they're both decent
Oh,
looking
man,
guys.
her nose is fucked up.
But no, Devin Booker, the girl he's with, like he's been with her forever, and she's not cute. It's just a weird thing.
Eric, what do you think about Devin Booker's girlfriend?
I don't know Devin Booker.
Oh,
I know
okay.
Devin Butler. He's an 8-year-old with a badge.
My friend Raymond can piss 8 feet.
What? No.
What's
What?
her name?
Cop and a half?
I'm gonna
No.
look it up. What's her name? Devin Butler.
No,
damn it.
he's a guy. Devin Booker is a guy. Don't even bother. It's gonna take you a while.
You should just Google Devin Butler for the hell of it.
That's what I was saying. I'm doing
I wonder if
right now.
Devin Butler's in the business still. Business or jail? Pick one right now.
Who's Devin Butler?
From Kindergarten Cop.
No.
Cop and a half.
Cop and a half. Burt Reynolds. Have some
No,
respect.
you guys.
That's his name in that movie?
Yes.
No, the little
You're
kid.
sure?
The little
The
kid
little
was.
kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Devin Butler was the kid's name, but Devin Butler, alternatively,
I'm Devin Butler.
Is a 23-year-old Notre Dame football player, defensive back.
That's him. Yep. He made it. He made it to Notre Dame playing football now.
Looks just like the kid too from the movie.
No.
Okay. Seriously, don't do that.
That was a
All
joke.
All
Corey.
right.
It's a black joke. We can't make him anymore. Are we on air? Whoa, whoa.
Oh, we're totally on the air.
Corey
Devin?
said, don't do it.
Dear God.
I wonder if that kid
We're
acted.
going to hell.
All right, I need to go get my energy drink now. I've had my
Norman D. Golden II.
fuck golden
His name is young. It's Devin Butler in Cop and a Half. That is not what I thought. Or if I would have had to recall, I would have never said.
All
it
the
was
kids
that.
stood up though. I'm Devin Butler. I'm Devin Butler.
Don't remember that.
No, that was at the end.
Mm-hmm.
They were helping him out.
What'd they do? Try to frame him at the end of the movie? I can't
when
remember
the
how
guy-
it ends.
Remember when the guy pukes from all the fish?
Here's a fun fact. Fonzie directed that movie.
Are you serious?
Henry Winkler.
He directs a lot of movies, though, to be fair.
Does he? I didn't
We
know that.
can-
I thought Ron Howard for sure. A little Richie Cunningham.
I guess Henry Winkler is not great at everything.
Oh, that was a fucking switch. Did you
I
see
guess
that shot?
even Henry Winkler makes mistakes. Did you make that?
I did make that right into the trash can.
Damn, look at you,
Should've
8
went
feet.
to college.
8 feet away.
Dun, 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 dun.
Did you go to college?
Yeah.
What'd you go to college for, Corey?
That was released on my 11th birthday. I went to college. Initially, I went and I was going to do law. Then I went and became a teacher.
Law?
Law.
LOL. You were majoring and laughing out loud?
Shit, I should have.
Nice.
Because as soon as I found out what it took to
It won't
stick
follow
through
you.
all my poli-sci classes and shit, I was like, this is the most boring. Oh my god. Dude,
my wife
those
has
people.
psychology right now. She's literally in psychology right now. Yeah, she has to take that and some music class as prerequisites for her. What'd you tell her to get into, Everett?
IT.
IT.
God, I hate the light in this room.
What do you think of my face? It's pretty beautiful.
It won't follow you.
Oh man. Yeah,
So, like,
if
move your
if
head.
you get so good at this, Everett,
What?
That's just a beautiful belt.
I say if you get that to work so well, yeah, look at that national.
This could
tag
be
team.
the Alex
God,
Belt series. We just do
might
a
as
show
well
about.
be.
Yeah, I mean, like, no, like seriously, like this.
Tell us about your belt today, Alex. What do you got for us? This is a beautiful specimen of a belt, looking like it's got
on this
leather and
belt
metal.
It's from Ice Cube,
On the
leather
block
and metal.
today.
Dr. Dre, Easy E. No, right?
Wow.
NWA.
Yeah, DJ Rand,
Is it the wrong? Is it?
Yella,
Am I wrong here?
What's that?
NWA.
Yeah.
It's Ice
Dr.
Cube,
Dre, Ice
Easy
Cube.
E.
What's the problem? I'm sorry, I'm thinking about the cameras and what happened
NWA.
to our cameras and why they don't sit up here anymore. But anyway, go. What were you guys talking about?
NWA.
Yeah, you know.
Ice
Oh.
Cube.
Ice Cube,
Easy.
Easy,
Yeah.
Dre.
Raniella.
This
I
whole
can't
thing fell
remember the other
flat.
guy's name.
Yeah,
It
would've
is
been
DJ Ren,
Way
isn't it?
funnier. It was DJ Ren. MC
Yella.
MC Ren.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Would have been better if we. Yeah. Two watching now. I bet they're.
Yella's on the
disappointed.
bass.
They're
or Yella's on
thrilled.
the drums.
Thanks for joining us, and sorry.
Mhm. We apologize.
We have 2 viewers. I think I'm one of them, but
That's
at least
fine.
there's one other
I'm
person out
probably
there.
the
Please
other
make
one.
yourself known in chat. One other person. We'll make you Horseman famous.
Horseman famous.
Again, what happened to the like we
We're
used
doing
to
a show
our
for you
cameras
today.
used to sit up here.
Yeah, we had a bunch of tripods. People just stole the tripods.
Why?
I don't know. Why does he might steal anything
Some
around here?
people needed them more than this.
More than the
podcast
studio, which we bought them for.
Give me if we got any electric tape, because I'm gonna tape this thing up here.
I got some hockey
electric.
tape in my
Woogie, woogie,
desk.
Woogie, woogie, woo.
You don't have to worry that.
Yeah,
bad.
they sit really good
It's
on
in my
top
desk.
Of the
I can go
laptop,
grab
though,
it.
Honestly, You don't-
Stickiest shit I ever played
no,
with.
I hate that.
You don't like
I
the
want
angle?
it to sit. I want it to be up
I use it for
here,
heroin.
looking down. Boom. That's
Makes
what
you
I
look
want.
shorter when you do that, though. I'm just saying.
Who looks shorter when they do what?
Makes you look shorter. That's a fucking Big E statement if ever I've heard one.
I like to make grand statements. Just saying.
I hate tag team wrestling. This is gonna be a problem for me.
Really?
Perfect.
Now, is this tag team? Are we considering unnamed tag teams also? Because my
Did you
dog-
read the
let's-
show notes?
Let's save this convo for the show.
Did
'cause
you
that's a
read the
good combo.
fucking show
Oh, yeah.
notes?
All right, here we go. You guys ready?
got it pulled up right here.
You guys ready?
Yep.
Here we go.
The following podcast is scheduled for one fall, and there will be no disqualifications. Making their way to the ring from lineupmedia.fm at a combined weight of 849 pounds, the Three Horsemen.
Bringing it back. hard and fast. We told you last week that we were going to be back, and microphones that I can't even hear myself, which is the best kind.
Those are the best.
I don't have to hear myself speak. I'm Corey, Alex, T.O., Eric, Big Easy. You met us all last week. We're back in different colors.
Relevant.
Very. Back to talk tag team wrestling on this beautiful Tuesday morning. Not sure when you'll be hearing this. When we'll be out by at least by this week.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, the
Today or
schedule doesn't
tomorrow.
come
Yeah.
out.
See, so it'll be
Monday to Monday.
we'll have quick turnarounds now, gentlemen. What's going on? It's very early in the morning.
Sure is.
9:20. What's early to you guys?
9:20.
Apparently. It's not that bad, boys.
Yeah. You guys, everybody knows how to speak into their mics, right? How's it going, everybody?
What's up, Corey?
It did feel a little early for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, because it is early. We've been here for a fucking hour. Yes. Yeah, go on, blow. If you're not
Turbolax.
if you don't know, if you're on YouTube, thanks for joining us. You can follow us there, youtube.com/numeral 3 Horsemen Show, twitter.com. Follow us on Twitter, which we probably haven't used since we got back. We'll start doing that again. Twitter.com/numeral 3 Horsemen Show, Facebook.com/numeral 3 Horsemen Show. Obviously, Eric and Big E help us out with Surreal Talk. They've been posting like madmen, and we appreciate it. And don't forget, Facebook.com/Surreal Talk. That's where you go to learn about.
Did you mention Yo Radio? Download the Yo Radio app.
You should.
I wasn't going to do that, but now that you said that,
Well, I just thought you
Corey,
should go
what
ahead
is
and do
Yo
it.
Radio? Can you let me know a little bit about it?
I would, but I mean, T.O. told us about it, so go ahead, T.O.
Download the Yo Radio app to listen to the backlog and archive. You good, Everett?
Yeah, that's fine. It's just a light.
Of the Three Horsemen Show, all the podcasts we do, and also a streaming radio service.
The backlog. Now, what is
Backlog
that?
of episodes of the Three Horsemen.
That's where you go to find
There will be a station there with our shows up. Yes.
One of the places you could go.
a station up with just our shows.
Yes.
When is that coming?
Here in a little bit.
It's here.
Fucking liar.
I was gonna
I
say,
swear to God, there's gonna be one.
Well, now there for sure is.
Or you can go to iTunes, search Three Horsemen Show. You'll find us. That's where you can find all the oldies but the goodies, all the classic stuff.
is ring rust possible after you've had a good week back?
Yeah,
Okay, just saying.
I think so.
Okay.
Yo Radio, download the app. Go to the App Store or go to iTunes. Go wherever you go on
Google
your phone.
Play.
Google, iTunes, and Google Play. Download Yo Radio. They've got stations. They've got 80 stations. They've got Beatles stations. They've got
Oh God.
the Lake
Lake House.
the Lake House station. This thing's getting big time. So jump on there. Check us out.
They got cups and everything over at the lake
I
house.
can't name the other ones. Lake House. What's some of the other stations on?
Yo
there?
One, Yo
Oh,
Mexico.
but there's two people watching, so let's quit fucking around. We got an audience.
It's
No, we're just talking about our stuff.
it's
we're
Eric
just getting- we're
and
just getting
our
going.
cousin. What's
Is
up,
anything
Thomas?
going on? Is anything going on with you guys? Nobody can
I'm
talk
going on
about
vacation.
anything
Yeah,
but wrestling.
I got something going on.
kinda
I'm going on
gassy this
vacation.
morning.
I'm leaving
Oh.
today.
Where are you going, E?
We're driving to Maine, leaving tonight.
Oh, that's
Maine.
your annual Maine trip.
Yeah, it's semi-annual, but yeah.
Semi-annual.
Well, it's been
Didn't
2
you go
years, I
last-
think.
Oh, okay, 2 years.
But yeah. No, that'll be a good time. We like the road trip. That'll be a good time.
What do you do in Maine?
Beach house. I don't do a lot, you know me. But
They're
they
going
go.
to listen to the lake house at the beach house.
Oh, I'll do that. We'll make it the ocean house instead of the lake house, though.
The lighthouse.
You gonna get?
Oh.
Oh, bam! Even better. Yep, you got
Looking
it.
forward to some seafood, though. They got
That's what I
real
was gonna
good seafood
say.
up there.
Can you pack and bring some back because it's cheaper up there? You know.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Well, after we leave Maine, we're going to New Hampshire for about another 3 or 4 days after that. So
I'm sure it'll stay fresh.
not gonna do it, Tim. Not gonna, and I'm nah.
Lobster's in such an abundance up there right now that it's real cheap. Lobster and crab.
So are you driving?
Yeah,
Jesus.
I've did that trip. I don't know 3 or 4 times now. I did Maine to St. Louis in one go one time. Didn't let anybody else drove it myself. Went through the long way through Niagara Falls.
Just to
Buffalo.
prove a point.
Fuck yeah.
What is that, like 20-hour drive?
It was 23 total with
Wait.
stops and everything.
Can we turn the lights out in here and get some mood?
Some ambiance.
Not since last time.
Ooh.
Oh, see,
There
I
we
like
go.
that way better. This is good. We got light everywhere. E's lit up like a Christmas tree back there. It's looking good. I think we're good. So E's going to Maine. Anybody else got anything going on? Okay, I'll say one.
I do not.
I'm buying a house.
Oh shit! Awesome! Congratulations.
You guys have done
awesome.
this. Hey, I have never felt more discombobulated and just not right.
How long till you close?
What's that mean?
Close Friday, just like
You did close or are closing?
closing Friday.
Oh, it's
Oh,
not
man.
done
So
yet. You still have,
Saturday,
you still have a
you're
few
gonna feel
stressful
100 times
days.
better though.
Yeah, I've just stressed out.
Sign here. Sign here.
Friday-
Sign this.
Yeah.
Sign here.
That's
sign
exactly it. It's gonna take you 20, 30 minutes at the title place, and you're done and out of there. You're like, oh, that was easy.
Here. Just don't let it get to you. Just know what you're
All the
doing.
hard work's done,
It's
yeah.
gonna. They're gonna talk a bunch of stuff. At the end of the day, you're buying a house. Everybody does it. There's people that are way dumber that have done it. There's people
Way
that are
dumber.
way less qualified that have done it.
Way less qualified.
Don't let the stress get to you. You're just signing papers. Just look at it as you're going in and signing your life away.
That
It's-
is how it's felt for like 3 weeks.
But it's yours. You have an investment now.
You can think of it signing your life away or signing to make your life go forward.
yeah,
Think about all.
I enjoy renting though.
The ladies
Not as much responsibility.
you're gonna have back to this
Oh.
castle.
And I loves the ladies.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah. But man, I
If I
feel like
love
a
those
child
ladies.
again going forward.
Are you gonna build you a wrestling room in your man house?
Oh, he has a wrestling ring in the backyard. You didn't tell him.
Well, I didn't tell him. I
You
bought
do
a
backyard
wrestling
wrestling?
ring.
No shit. You're crazy. You're so full of shit.
He spent $60,000 on the house.
Where do you
80
think we're
on
doing
the
the
ring.
show from now on?
Oh, that'd be so cool.
In
if
the
it were
middle of
true.
a ring, that would
Yeah.
be fucking cool.
Oh, people would think it was awesome.
So
It looked so good for the first couple
We
weeks.
actually were having a card of the Attitude Era and Nitro. We bought some heroin that we got half the guys to come for, and
Oh,
then we're going to
awesome.
pay the ones that didn't want drugs $40 an appearance. And
Nice.
Here, you
It's
guys
gonna be
get
great.
somas.
yeah.
Okay.
Can we get the Nasty Boys? I don't think they take drugs, but can we get them anyway?
Oh,
Pit
I'm
stop.
sure they don't.
Oh, I thought you said, "Can we get to the Nasty Boys?" I was like, "Shit."
I
Give
thought you
us a
said, let's
second.
do the Nasty Boys.
The pit stop was probably the single most iconic, nastiest fucking thing about those guys. I loved it. They would just rub their people's faces in their armpit.
Yeah, what a move.
Right. Like
These guys can fucking work.
Tacticians.
Logically, like, what the fuck does this do? This is not. But they would get knocked out.
Oh.
They were knocked
Was
out
it-
from that.
was
Like,
Here, I thought the double drop kick was so
Was
good.
the chair
Yeah.
incident with Hall and Nash and the Nasty Boys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Bischoff was referencing that in their last episode, which is
Yeah,
really
I haven't
good
I haven't gotten through that yet.
That's good. Okay, that's what we're here to do. We're here to talk tag team wrestling, the greatest tag teams
Wrestling.
of all time. I say tag team wrestling. Thoughts? What do you guys think of what do you think of tag team wrestling?
Phew, so many team names come up in my head. First things first, Legion of Doom pops right in. I don't know why. Then the Freebirds come right into my head.
Bushwhackers is
Bushwhacker,
immediate.
Yeah, just so many images flood my head. The beautiful 80s style WWF titles.
Yeah.
I think Demolition
Oh, yeah.
and I think the Freebirds are the two that come to
He's
my
doing
mind
this on
first.
purpose. Go ahead.
What?
Do your shtick. You had
No.
it ready. Go.
I seriously, because I did not watch very much of NWA, WCW in the late 80s, early 90s.
Nobody's perfect.
When Legion,
Oh,
of,
I was gonna say
when
when the
Legion
Road
of-
Warriors were ripping off Demolition.
when
I didn't-
Legion
oh
of
my
Doom
God. Go
came
ahead.
in,
Go
when
ahead.
Legion of Doom came in the WWF for their first time, I thought they were a ripoff of Demolition.
You're lying.
Wow.
I thought that
He's
because
doing it on purpose.
I
No one
had
thought
not
that.
seen them.
He's doing it on purpose. Go ahead.
That bothers you so
Keep
much.
going.
Man, that was almost DiBiase-esque laugh there.
Wasn't on purpose.
$1 million man.
Money,
So, but you guys were all fans. I mean, I was a huge. I was tag team almost more than singles, just because I liked.
You got tag team more than single.
Damn.
What's wrong with
Words
him?
that came out of your
Oh.
mouth. Hey-o.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, I noticed we didn't put any female tag teams on our list. Is there a reason for that? You just don't like women wrestling, or
Couldn't think of any.
sure, the Jumping Bomb Angels? It's all right. You're
Didn't they
sexist.
have the women's
Alex
tag team
is
belts?
sexist. We learned this
teamed
last
up,
week.
Sonny teamed up with somebody.
No, she didn't.
Shawn Michaels.
Snap.
Who else? Half the back room.
Oh, it was like that. Who was the original guy she came out with the
Chris
blonde hair?
Candido.
Skip. There
Yeah.
it is. Yes, Sonny and
Yeah.
Skip.
Of the
that's
Body
right.
Donnas.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not even counting their Smoky Mountains.
Was Body Donna's on our list of greatest tag teams of all times?
No, but the Moking Guns was.
I got it. Higher
Were they
here.
Smoking Guns?
Moking Guns. Were you with me at
The
that
Body Donnas.
It is not on the
Just
list.
a name that automatically
It's
comes
iconic.
to you when you
Were
think
you were you
iconic.
with us at the event, the house show, and we sat behind the
Thank God I wasn't.
special children,
No.
and this girl kept going,
Oh, boy.
"Go Moking Guns, go Moking Guns."
Oh, God, Tim, please,
so
no.
The Smoking Guns were the Moking Guns at our house forever.
We're going to have to hit the edit button on the...
Yeah.
Wrong with that.
Right,
The
Ralph.
Nothing wrong.
No,
Moking
we
Guns.
live.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah, moving on.
Mongoloid.
And I put this in the notes. Let's get this out of the way.
Mongoloid Mike.
So in my... oh, my God. In my eyes, after we get thrown off the air here.
It's coming.
So I say the greatest tag team ever is the Road Warriors. I'm a Road Warrior, Mark. Always will be. Do you guys agree with that? Do you think that's too easy to say they're the greatest tag team of all time?
I'd put it like this. If you're making a bracket of all the greatest tag teams of all time, if they don't make top 4 every single time on anybody's list, then that's an invalid list.
Are you talking workers? You talking in ring?
The whole
Let's
package.
combi- let's
Most
package-
decorated.
Yeah.
Like,
What do you say?
Okay, so let's combine
Racist?
box. Well, at least one of them is. Let's combine box office, work rate, titles,
Charisma.
I mean, the
fucking everything.
charisma
What?
is the biggest thing.
What?
But their charisma and their presentation.
Yeah, you're saying it as a joke.
Yeah,
I'm
no, they were
dead
showmen,
serious.
dude. They were those guys were showmen, you know.
Yeah.
And I think they were the first tag team to really do that.
Well, to be like jacked up monsters, yes, they were.
Because guys that big usually got singles pushes.
Usually, and they couldn't work. They were really bad. They were super green in the beginning. Go back and watch Georgia stuff, and they just hurt.
They hurt
actually
people.
painful to watch.
Potato guys.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Oh.
I didn't know that.
came out in their YMCA Village
Oh.
People Get Up.
That's right, man.
Oh, no.
Two
I remember that.
covered bikers.
The fucking football pads with the spikes.
Before that.
Before
yeah,
that.
Yeah, I like that shit. That was cool.
Well, we're talking 83.
Oh.
When they were leather
who's-
caps,
let's
leather vests,
No
leather
face paint.
chaps.
Let's go with you first because yours is they're at the top of yours for sure.
For sure.
I want to see what your top 5 list is because I'm curious if you're gonna rely heavy on work
Oh, we get a
that was
fifth?
done in the top 4. That's fine, whatever.
Well, we're gonna do Mount Rushmore.
I don't
Do you
care.
want to start them now?
Oh, I thought there was 5 on Mount Rushmore. I'm sorry. Anyway.
Trump should be there, so no.
Whoa.
That was a joke.
Hey, someone just said, "Hey, f you" on the chat.
Yeah.
No, so I'm curious if you're gonna have the Road Warriors at top and then follow up with Midnight Express or someone like
Well,
that.
because
that
I
is a
said-
big work rate.
Oh, they're definitely the Road Warriors are number one because they main evented, they traveled, they were an attraction. They are the only tag team to ever do that.
Steiners did it.
No, they didn't travel as an attraction.
Japan.
Yeah, but they weren't. There were federations by then. It wasn't territories by the time they got around.
Okay. Tell Scott Steiner that. Keep going.
Oh, I ain't telling him.
Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with that guy.
No, but I'm just saying the Road Warriors face paint in their interviews, and they had shoulder pads, and they sold merchandise. I can't name another team that had what they were the tag team champions in the 3 top federations when it was a 3-team war.
So, if they didn't have the face paint, and this is the psychology of a kid, like when we were kids, was the face paint what drew you to like them?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
So, well, I mean, that's the one thing I don't understand right now with the current WWE
Right.
product.
Right.
They market to kids. They have one masked wrestler that's never on.
Who's that?
That Sin Cara, I think is.
Oh, okay.
I think he's still there, but they never use him, or he might not be there. I don't know.
Some
But
more
like,
face paint. You're right.
if it's around the kid, they don't like when Balor comes out with his face paint gimmick. People go ape shit.
Yeah, because
Kids love it.
cool.
But they've done it twice, 3 times in 2 or 3 years, which I get. Like you don't want to wear it out, but you could do it at the big
They also
shows.
don't want to get him over, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I understand is like that's what sucked you into Demolition as a kid. Even though they were heels, you still thought they looked like badasses.
Yeah, and they were a Road Warrior ripoff. Just like the Blade Runners.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Just
Just like the Powers of Pain.
But people like Sting because Sting had it. People like Warrior because
Agreed.
I don't understand why they're geared more towards kids now. Yet that simple psychology of a mask or face paint is not used.
I agree.
And
the
just for
mask,
gimmicks. I mean, just for licensing and sales. That's what confuses me more than anything.
I know what you're saying. That's one of the things we're going to delve into. But there's a reason that you would do a singles because you have to pay 2 guys instead of paying 1 guy. So if this team gets over, plus you're going to eventually, they don't keep anybody together anymore unless, I mean.
They and that's one thing I want to talk about.
Oh, we'll get to it.
So, hey, what you were saying, though, like they had their own shirts, Road Warriors had their own shirts. Not many tag teams had merch. I mean, there was very few, like the New Age Outlaws, but before that, how many tag teams actually had merchandise?
Back then, not as many. Once WWF capitalized on
Right,
all that
right.
stuff. But you could get Road Warriors shirts at like a T-shirt store in Florida. They'd do
Or maybe
I
go
have
into a
picture
house
with it
show,
from
you could buy some
1986.
merch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not very many, though.
No. And that's kind of my
It
point.
amazes me. 86. That'd be like my daughters getting something right now. Like they don't care enough about anything right now to have it spray paint, like getting
Oh,
like
I
a shirt
definitely-
made.
Well, I enjoyed some wrestling when I was about 4 years old, so
That's funny.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, that was marketed. They had a cartoon. I mean, wrestling had a cartoon.
That's
Legion
right.
of Doom was not on it. Road
I
Warriors
know.
weren't on it.
Well, it was on a lot when we were kids.
They were on a lot of like midnight when we were kids.
That's true.
So you stayed up and watched them.
Yep.
Okay.
Because it's pro wrestling.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Okay.
Give me a break. Okay. Eventually, like I said, I want to do a Road Warriors show one day. Where
Oh,
we
do
if
you?
we focus on, we're going to focus on single wrestlers, old school. People would enjoy that.
I bet Animal would come on.
I don't know.
Oh, sure he would.
His contract with St. Louis Podcast Wrestling
We'll have to
or
talk-
St. Louis Podcast.
I bet we could get someone from Hawk's family to come on too.
Possible.
If not, we can get Andre Dawson and have him be the Hawk for the.
Andre
episode.
Dawson.
Yes, his nickname was the Hawk.
Did you get that, Alex?
Yeah.
He
Oh,
just
he's
didn't
a
think it
Cubs
was
fan.
funny.
He's
he
a
just,
Cubbies
He just
fan.
didn't think it was very funny.
All right. Well, let's dive into this since we got the Road Warriors out of the way. Now let's go. Alex, I know you're not going to name a girls team because we learned last week Alex was sexist by his not including of girls.
I don't think that was me last week, actually.
It fits the narrative, Alex.
Yes, let's keep this going. Okay, give me a tag team.
Arden Tully.
That's a good
I
tag
know
team.
that doesn't really fit the
Nope.
bookend tag team. However,
No.
Brainbusters? Is that what
Yeah.
they were?
well,
When they came to WWF.
yeah.
Yeah. That was their only official name, though, right?
Only name they had
Yeah.
is a tag team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys? I'm a Tully Blanchard fanatic.
I'm
Loved
a fan
his
of,
work.
I'm a fan of his daughter.
If you
Tess?
go back
She can
and
work.
if you go back and watch any match of theirs, I challenge you to find a match that was subpar. You won't find it.
Impossible.
No matter who, even if they were wrestling jobbers, and part of this is because I like technical wrestling. They're always good matches.
They had the psychology though.
Right.
They had the match. They cut the ring off. They worked a body part. That was something that they did, and I remember about them that
They bumped for people.
yes, there was a formula to their match, like the Hogan formula in WWE. Like they and that's kind of what you look at that era. You put Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express in there, to where those three groups with Road Warriors could main event a pay-per-view.
Yes.
There's never been another era in wrestling that could happen.
Because it's not going to. So don't expect that to happen.
Well, no,
Golden
but-
days are gone.
But I think the allure of tag, and you talk about it being Art and Tully, them not having a name, but their trunks still had
They had
a
the initials on them.
resemblance that
Yeah.
you could tell they were a team.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Arn had the same shit when he was with Ole. I mean, they stuck
But
to the
you could tell
Minnesota
they were
colors.
you could tell they were a team. It wasn't like
No.
them throwing two guys together like they did with certain people and their gear didn't match. That's what that's what would always drive me crazy. And even as a kid, I could
So you're a
tell.
bookend tag team fan.
Well, I like it
TO
a lot
requires
better.
matching underwear. Yes.
I think that is, but it's being a sports fan. That's common sense to me.
I'm totally with
If
you.
you're a team,
Mhm.
how do you come out wearing different colored shit or not looking like? And it also kind of led me to believe who would get pushed and who was going to be around and who wasn't back then. Because if they were putting the money into the ring gear, probably going to stick around for a little bit.
Yeah, I would have never
Fair
guessed.
point.
At least nowadays, they have to pay for all their ring gear stuff that they have created by their seamstresses.
They
Wait,
do.
what? That's on the wrestler?
Yeah,
Wow. So
kind of
like,
what I thought.
They're saying at the end of the day, some of these guys
How
at
can that be?
WWE, after it's all said and done with them, because they don't have insurance, they have to pay their own insurance. They have to pay for their own travel, pay for their own
What?
hotels. Some of these guys that are on the $170 or $170,000, $120,000, they're at the end of the day, they're only making $70 grand, $80 grand after everything's paid
Oh,
out with
dang.
ring gear.
We'll go back to this
Dude,
time. These guys are
whoa.
dropping $300 on a pair of boots.
But when you think about it, they're on a TV show that's on for 3 hours Monday night that just
I mean,
got
they're-
signed $1 billion
That's how it
deal.
starts. If they want to get to the millions, that's what you got to do. I mean, I don't. That's the path they chose. I'm just saying. They knew they were going to be
never-
driving in cars with a couple other stinky guys for hours on end to the next show. That's wrestling. It's been wrestling since the beginning of time. I'm just saying.
right.
I don't feel super sorry for them.
Yeah.
Making 80 grand a year for doing something you love since you were a kid. Congratulations, boys.
A lot of these people don't love it since they're a kid. That's the problem anymore. That's why it's dog shit.
That could
That
be.
was one of my questions. I was gonna
one
ask
of the many reasons why, but
So
which we'll get there.
not the
With-
contributing factor.
with the Road Warriors, though, and I know we keep going back to them, but I know you know so much about them. And
It's all this wee bullshit. I ain't going back
no,
to it.
so-
No, go ahead.
And Alex,
You people.
tell me this because you're more of a you know your stuff from back in the day.
Historian.
They came in together. They worked out together in Minneapolis. They were
Right.
actually they knew each other in high school. They were on rival football teams or something, right?
Somewhere in there.
Something just ish.
Yeah.
So those guys came in together. Sting and what's his nuts?
Warrior.
Hellwig.
Came in together with the Blade. Like, how many of these old school
Oh, they
tag
started
teams?
as Power Team USA? God,
Yep.
I can't remember. Something brutal.
So, what other tag teams? Because I don't know the history of Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express. Did they start out? I mean, because they all worked singles towards the end of it, and they were all damn good singles workers.
Well, let's talk about it now. That's how they used to put tag teams together. I mean, you would kind of your career depending on who you were. If you started out and you're like, we don't have much for these guys to do, stick two guys together. Or if you're at the end of your career, maybe you don't want to work as hard, or you don't want to be, I don't know, maybe you just have lost your steam coming into the 80s, coming into the 90s. They're like, let's put them in a tag team. Let's see what happens. Maybe we can work something with them. But like the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, just two fledgling guys in Memphis, don't have anything to do with them. Jerry Lawler's like, hey, let's throw some bandanas around their tights and let's call them the Rock and Roll Express. They needed a B team because they had the Fabulous Ones, who they had created with Jackie Fargo. Here, we got these guys to run Memphis, Louisville, and this. We'll have the Rock and Roll Express do the Buttermilk run. We'll have them run in Tupelo and West Memphis, and there you had your two teams. Midnight Express, Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey were in Memphis at the same time. Thank God for the trade with Lawler and Watts, because Watts says, here, give me these two guys and give me the guy you're not doing anything with Cornette. Give me Cornette, because you got Jimmy Hart. You don't need Cornette. Cornette goes down with him. Let's put these two together, Midnight Express. So you found guys, and especially at that time, they made something out of them.
So Morton, you don't think would have ever been because Flair talks about not Morton, it was Eaton. He talked about how Eaton was one of the best wrestlers he ever worked with,
He is.
and how he doesn't get the props, anything. So if the tag team was not formed, do you think Eaton would have ever been anything? Because I've heard Flair say he should have had the NWA title.
Yeah, but that's why they put guys in tag teams, so you didn't have to talk. And that's why they had managers, which is a whole nother thing.
So you'd say the big thing,
Mr. Charisma.
the
Mr.
charisma.
Charisma.
The charisma was missing from the.
Still my favorite Triple H line of all time, when he says Mr. Charisma.
Do you think that's another reason they put these guys in the tag teams and
Well-
then gave them a mouthpiece if they both were shit talkers?
Here's a great combination. Ole and Arn. Tully and Arn. One was a U.S. champion. The other was a TV champion, and then they kind of flipped those roles. Arn was working with Ole. Ole's gone. They would have, Flair or Wyndham or Flair and Luger. hey, let's put these guys. Then you've got the World Championship, you've got the U.S. Championship, and you got the Tag Team Championship all within the same group, which I wouldn't be real fucking thrilled with if I was a wrestler in that time. But you've got those guys. They work great together. They can sell. Like you've got the Road Warriors. You need 2 small guys to bump around for 2 muscle guys. That's the same thing that they did over in the WWF. Maybe not the exact same, but because everybody was fucking blown up to the gills by then. But you just took 2 guys that were either really good workers, but not super over.
Bret Hart and Jim.
There's another one. Yep. There's another one. Who? Somebody else.
What?
Eric, let's go. Tag teams. Who do you think about?
I've been waiting for you to ask this. Hold on, I prepared something.
You can talk even when we're like. I mean, you can throw stuff in.
Oh God.
You guys know this one?
Oh, high energy.
Harlem Heat.
Loved high energy. Coco Beware and Owen Hart.
That's
Harlem Heat.
That's Harlem
You
Heat.
trolling bastard. He's
That's
trolling
Harlem
y'all.
Heat.
Come on. Harlem Heat, come on. With
We
Sister
probably
Sherry Martel.
We probably just got kicked off YouTube for playing the Harlem Heat.
And we only got about
song.
15 seconds of it. We should be okay.
And if we do,
Have mercy on us,
fuck
YouTube.
both those 2.
Stevie Ray
I
and
hated
Booker T.
them.
You hated them, really?
Yes.
What about when they do the
Harlem
spin-a-rooney?
Yeah.
I like Booker.
What about when they
I
did
like
that?
Booker
That
T
was
when he
great.
broke away. I always thought Stevie Ray was kind of a goon.
Yeah, Stevie Ray.
Yeah,
is
Booker
kinda good.
T got the title 5 times, and
Booker T was
Stevie
kind
Ray
of
got
a
How many
NWO.
times? 5 times?
5 times.
Yeah,
5 times.
really loved Stevie Ray's ring gear when he was in the NWO.
Wasn't Booker T was kind of illiterate, right? Like I don't think he could read very well. I just remember his interviews. Like I just remember Booker T. Hey, he just wasn't very.
We coming to
articulate.
get you. Oh, I'll stop there.
Yeah, please. I think we've already crossed as many lines.
No,
so
but
far as we're
seriously,
gonna
the guy
cross.
was not very
you go, Drake. I'll be right
articulate.
back.
I
Didn't
don't
he kill
remember.
someone?
Like,
He was
did-
definitely in prison.
Yeah,
No, he was in
No
prison.
shit.
Armed robbery,
Seriously,
Mhm.
really?
Armed
Oh, yeah.
robbery when he
Wow.
was younger. Yeah.
Yeah, he came out of that and got into the wrestling business, which is I think that might be another show too. But Harlem Heat's a great team. Who else we got? Who else you want to talk about? I mean, Harlem Heat,
So if
just a kind of a dead period.
I kind of wanted to. I'm more curious about the '80s stuff because I don't know as much as you guys do, and that's why I was kind of asking. So, Cornette, does he become the first really tag team manager to get super over and draw the heat that people use? You know, he kind of became the prototypical, like the model for the heel manager.
He used to hit people with a tennis racket, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I should make sure we're talking about the same guy.
Or was that model there and he was just very good at it? And
Yeah, you can't discount Captain Lou Albano, who really started that. Because he had the Samoans. I mean, Heenan had Blackjack Lanza and Blackjack Mulligan back in the
but-
AWA and the fucking.
but
I mean, I
the
know you
Brain
guys
could
don't
work.
know.
They said Brain was a great worker. They said he
Brain was a great worker.
So I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Cornette having no wrestling experience, you know, in the ring, just kind of being, you know, because he is introduced as a rich,
Mama's boy from Louisville, Kentucky.
yeah, which he was.
Yeah.
And you know, in
Rich,
reality.
not rich, but yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I
they
would-
were well off. The family was. His dad was the paper, something to do with the newspaper.
paper salesman at Dunder Mifflin.
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
definitely.
Anything's possible.
So Alex, like, what was the formula, or what do you think made the great tag teams in the '80s?
there's an easy question.
Well, no, because I mean, like, obviously, Gimmicks got the teams over in the
Yeah.
early '90s, and the managers, they would either have a hot female manager to get them. I mean, there were different things that were introduced to get them over, but I feel like more of the '80s, it was a lot of the wrestling and the technical stuff. So I mean, like, I don't know if I'm right on that. That's why I was asking. So I mean, you two would be the ones to answer that question for me.
I don't know. I feel like that. So for me, it was more early '90s when I started watching, and everything in the '80s is what I've gone back and watched.
Okay.
So when I started watching as a kid, like Corey, what got me into it was, oh, these guys have face paint, or they've got bandanas on their tights and stuff like that. Like, I was a rockers mark when I
Yeah.
started watching.
What I'm talking about.
Rockers.
But
See, that didn't even come to mind for me when we, like, out of all this tag team talk, I just overlooked it because Michaels became such a breakout star that he was bigger than anything the tag team was,
Right.
which is something else. We'll talk about.
Jannetty's career got fucking split just like his face did when he threw him through that mirror in the.
That has got to be my favorite promo segment of all time.
The barbershop.
Heenan was gold on that.
He don't need Jannetty. I
just
knew he was.
I just knew he was gonna do that.
Great stuff from fucking Heenan.
Did you see that? He tried to dive out of the glass window to escape.
Tried to dive through the window. There's another great thing about tag teams. You say this guy split off. And just going through guys in my head, I could think of Hogan as being one that didn't. Almost all great singles came out of a tag team.
So that's where I was.
You name somebody, I'll give you a tag team.
Okay, so that's that's kind of the point I was trying to make, to where the Midnight Express, known as a tag team,
right?
Rock and Roll Express, known as a tag team, didn't break off. Road Warriors, Legion of Doom, known as a tag team, didn't really break off and have the singles careers.
Right.
Then you have even, the guys in WWF. Crush, did he have the biggest push out of anyone from Demolition?
No way, man. Fucking Repo Man.
Crush was in a video game.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. They are around forever.
Hole in One Darso?
Yeah.
Molecular, brother.
Oh my God.
Now
See, I don't even know. Oh, boy.
So that's what I'm saying, though. So you look at those tag teams. Those tag teams were bigger than the individual.
Yes.
You get to the WWF, and, I mean...
Different story.
So this, Harlem Heat, Booker T ends up becoming a huge star. Steiner Brothers.
Now wait a minute. You said get to the WWE.
No, but what I'm doing, Booker T ended up being a star in WWF.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Steiner got his push at the end of WCW after they broke the Steiner Brothers up, but they broke them up late. Mm-hmm. I felt like there became a point in time to where they saw the formula with what happened with Michaels, and they started creating tag teams.
Well, they started doing that with Scott Steiner back in like '93 before they jumped to the WWF.
Teasing the breakup
because he took the TV belt off Steamboat.
Look at you.
And then
he didn't want to break up, though, did he? Like, I think that was part of the big issue, is they didn't want to leave. They didn't want to break up as a tag team. Scott didn't, because he knew Rick wasn't gonna have the career and wouldn't make the money if they didn't stay together.
Right.
That's
plus he was gonna cut Bill Watts' throat and beat him to death.
But I listened.
Yeah.
That's what they said on Pritchard's. That's what they said on Pritchard's podcast. Mm-hmm. Something along those lines. But I feel like there was a point in time that tag teams were made just for booking purposes, for the breakup and then the feud afterwards.
Right.
And I feel
it's a storyline
now
that sells,
is
for sure.
the only reason
not as much.
they do
You don't
tag
create
teams.
a bookend tag team to break them out. If you were doing that, you were getting them to put them in. Here's where you're set. This is what you're gonna do. You're gonna be in this tag team. If we find a way to break off, if this guy gets busted for if he comes up dirty on a piss test, if he wants to leave, because he's not getting paid as much, because tag teams that's two guys getting paid, not one guy getting paid.
You think they pay them the same like that over?
They used to.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still do or not.
I would say
it's only so much TV and seats sold, per minute a match.
Damn right.
So how do you think the feeling was of the tag teams in the 80s when they were over the responsibility? I mean, like, you're tied to this guy. Your career
Right, what if he's an
is
asshole?
attached
You
to
don't like
this
him.
guy, and him getting in trouble, or him. I mean, like, so much of your career was dependent on that. Do you think that has any reason why they stopped pushing tag team wrestling?
No.
No?
No. Vince McMahon never liked tag team wrestling.
Okay. Who was the last great tag team then?
And what?
Wrestling.
Wrestling, period.
Like, I'd say the Dudleys.
Full-on tag team.
I don't like them.
I've
never
dog
seen
shit.
I've
Outsiders.
Never seen a Dudley
I love
match
the
in my
Outsiders.
life. Oh, there's a
Hall and
great tag
Nash.
team.
Yeah, Hall and Nash.
I enjoyed them.
I like
Obviously,
the Outsiders.
two very singles wrestlers. I mean, Scott Hall got into the business in a tag team, but
so
and he had
do you
awesome
have one?
stash.
Do you count that? I mean, DX got brought up, so the New Age Outlaws, like, so they were there. Edge and Christian was one. The Hardy Boys, like, was that the last great era of tag team wrestling to say?
Chronic.
To where there was.
I mean, there's a couple of fucking studs right there. Adam Bomb and Crush.
But when did tag team wrestling die then? When was it
with
last
the natural
healthy?
disasters?
Wow.
Oh boy.
When that earthquake and typhoon hit, it really
Chic Typhoon.
Yeah.
Chic Typhoon. That could have been. Never mind. Well, that'll be a whole nother subject too.
So then, I mean, There's so many different ways to go with that. Like I don't know when it was. I mean,
I feel like Attitude Era kind of had like a resurgence of tag team wrestling with those three, Dudley's, Hardys, and Edge and Christian. But then you had that dead period that kind of coincides with Corey's dead period that you didn't have a lot of it. I mean, you were throwing guys like Owen and Yokozuna together, and it's like
Rock and Sock connection,
Yeah. I didn't think they were.
We're
talking
later?
more
That was
men
a
on a
little later,
mission,
wasn't it?
smoking guns. Who was the other ones, you guys?
Smoking guns.
Smoking guns.
Bushwhackers.
Bushwhackers. I
Whoa,
fucking love the Bushwhackers.
All right. Hold on.
I'm just saying they were in that era. I know they could work, and I know. Did you know they were legit badasses and like they used to.
They
have,
were
like, crazy
hardcore wrestling
hardcore
because
matches.
hardcore wrestling was a thing.
They had like bloodbaths before that. They were in Memphis, right, Corey?
They were everywhere.
They were legit tough guys, though, huh?
No, but I mean, like,
Memphis, Southwestern.
They weren't they weren't this joke gimmick like they were in the WWE. They actually had these bloodbaths, and I never knew that either. Corey,
Wow.
We were talking about it last year.
Oh, that shit drove me crazy when they came to WWF and they were two guys that did this horse shit.
Licking fans.
Yeah, they lick the fans'
or each
fucking
other.
head. How unsterile is that? Let me just go lick this fan's head.
Ugh, dreadful. But where were you at on
Just
you're talking about the
last
dead period.
Yeah, the last good era, when it ended, when it died, etc.
I'd say it died right around there.
I think the last good tag team match that was more like, technical, you didn't have gimmicks, you didn't have ladder matches with the Attitude Era and stuff like that. The last good tag team match I remember watching was, I think it was the NWA tag team tournament, and you had
Gordy and Williams.
Gordy and Williams against Rhodes and Wyndham. And it wasn't even that long of a match, but it was just a good match. It told a good story.
If you want to look that up, it's in the Great American Bash '92.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And I'm a fan of, like, not necessarily stiff working, but I mean, you could tell like there were some stiff blows that were thrown. And I actually had
Steve Williams, a fucking all-American wrestler and football player. Yeah, it's he was a stiff son of a bitch.
But I mean, I've actually got Gordy and Williams on my, I guess, mention list.
Yeah, Miracle Death Connection.
Miracle Violence Connection.
Miracle Violence Connection. Sorry.
So the other thing that, like,
getting carried away.
We talked about what considered, like, groupings together, two guys being grouped together versus a tag team. Like, the one thing that was another indicator to me was ring gear, but also music. If they had unique music,
best music, Eric,
to their individual.
Oh, Sean, he thinks he's cute.
Motherfucker, we're talking tag teams.
Yeah, but I mean, you said best music, so that's that's
God
my
damn.
favorite.
Give me
favorite intro song.
Surprised
Harlem Heat. The Harlem Heat's the catchiest.
Surprised we didn't get the doink theme.
Yeah, dink doink and dank.
All they do now is if they make a tag team with two singles guys, they take their song and they play the beginning of one.
They'll mash them up,
fuse it in together, and they don't even come up with Wyatt and Hardy are the champions now.
Right.
And they don't have their own music. They don't have a name. They just play part of Wyatt's song and a part of Hardy's song.
I got it.
It's lazy.
You didn't know? Your ass better call somebody. That was the good tag team song.
That was probably the best.
That's what got him over.
Yeah.
You know,
I like them.
Another one my favorite used to be my ringtone, Demolition. That's right. Here comes the axe. Here comes the smasher.
That was good, especially from the era it came from.
Yeah, and if you go back further, I mean, the Road Warriors coming out to Iron Man, the Von Erichs came out to Stranglehold, Freebirds came out to Freebird.
Oh man,
which works.
Bad Street
Makes sense. Yeah, then they came out to
was
Bad
great.
Street. What do you guys
Michael
thoughts on
P.S. Hayes?
What are you guys' thoughts on the
Michael
Freebirds?
P.S. Hayes.
I
loved them.
Freebirds, yeah.
I did. I don't know why. I love them. I really liked Michael P.S. Hayes, but what was weird for me is I remember watching them a little bit on Saturdays with the Von Erichs, like just being on TV, catch them here and there. I remember when they got the WCW, I'd always like pull for them, and they just never did anything there. I guess it was towards the end of their career, but they never really did what
Yeah, the only question they'd
They
ever
could've
ask
done.
was, "I'm a free bird, and what was your excuse?" So
I can never answer that.
he knows what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Just didn't
The
have
Bad
worst
street.
fucking- Oh God.
Loved it.
And well, it's also worth mentioning we're from St. Louis. We were in the hotbed. We just got TV from everywhere. I still don't know why, but if you ask somebody from New York, they're like, "We didn't get TBS. We didn't get world class back
Damn
then."
Ted Turner.
I know.
Yeah.
Damn Ted Turner for selling in '90. Whatever.
Correct me if
Anyway.
I'm wrong. Weren't the Freebirds the first ones to hold this?
You know, on that, the belts changed, and that's why the National Tag Team Championship was out of Georgia, technically.
Right.
So that belt used to have the what's the flag down south? Confederate
Confederate
flag.
flag, yeah.
Used to have the
I remember
Confederate
that.
flag on it. Used to look very different.
6 people joined the room.
What? Just because I said that?
Yep.
Oh, Thomas Maroon's got it right. What a rush. Thank God. Well, as long as we got more LOD fans, that's a good thing. You know, but I don't know that they would have been the first to hold that. That title was pretty old by the time they got to fucking Georgia.
I'm going to go with Alex on this one. I think he knows.
All right.
I'm kind of half guessing, half trying to draw from memory. I'm trying to look it up
I
real
don't think
quick.
they would have been. The last people I remember holding it were Ole and Arn. There's a good tag team. Jump over to the WWF, the 80s, the 90s. I automatically think of the Killer Bees. I don't know why.
I was going to say the same thing.
Always
Beat
think of the
Brian
Killer
Blair.
Bees. Jumping Jim Brunzell. Just two guys they needed something to do with. That's when people would go to McMahon and go, "Hey, I want to work." He'd go, "Oh, all right."
Absolutely, pal. Let's get you in the ring.
"Hey, aren't you doing really, really well in that other all right, here, yeah. Come on. Not that we need you. We're just going to fuck you. But,
So there was the Hart Foundation at that time.
British Bulldogs.
Oriental Express.
The
Oriental Express.
Orient.
Not at that time, but
That's
yeah,
a
yeah,
roller
yeah.
Was it the
coaster.
Orient Express?
Or- yeah,
Is that what it
Orient-
was?
yeah,
I thought
he's
it was
right.
Oriental Express. Sorry.
That's a roller coaster at Six Flags.
No, but
Um,
those are. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to think of the WWF guys from that time.
Yeah, the Rockers, they snagged the Powers of Pain. They had the Islanders.
What was
they had-
IRS and Ted DiBiase's team?
Money Inc.
Money
Money
Inc. That's
Inc.
right.
Yeah. I like
what was
Erwin R. Shyster.
Warlord and the Barbarian? What were they called?
Powers of Pain.
Powers of Pain.
Okay, sorry.
It's all good. There's one match that they had. I want to say it's the first Survivor Series where it's all the tag teams.
that's so
Strike
good.
Force and
Strike Force.
the Can-Am
The Young
Connection.
Stallions.
The Young
Can-Am.
Stallions.
Who was
Jim
in the
Powers
Can-Am?
and Paul Roma. Are we not gonna? We're gonna do a show dedicated to them too.
Who was in the
Paul Roma.
Can-Am? I can't remember who was in
There's
Can-Am.
Tom
Weren't
Zink.
Bill and Ted the Young Stallions
Tom
too?
who?
And Rick Martel.
They were the Wild
Wild Stallions.
I didn't know. I
That
didn't
guy
know
with
Tom
the-
Inc. was ever in WWF.
Tom Zink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rick
didn't know
Martel
that.
was the pump sprayer guy, right, with the perfume.
The model.
Yeah,
Model.
Arrogance.
Yeah, yes. I remember
And then you
Rick
had
Martel.
what, Strike Force was Santana,
Tito and
Martel.
Mm-hmm.
See, but they had enough tag teams to where they could actually book stuff, and
Well, yeah.
there wasn't 3 tag teams in the whole thing. I mean, that's the one thing now. It's so thin to where there's hardly any guys that can hold the belts. But I know Cornette puts over. There's a tag team now that came up from NXT that Cornette raves about.
The
That-
Revival.
The Revival says they're a throwback to the 80s.
No fucking clue.
They
what
do-
either of their-
they do everything
Dawson
right.
And Dash.
Maybe,
like that.
yeah. But he loves them. Like he says that
Mhm.
if you love tag team wrestling in the 80s, watch their match and try not to pay attention to what the 2 other idiots they're wrestling are doing, but watch how they do a match.
Well, we were talking about guys depending on each other's careers, and I wanted to get back to this. Just going back to when wrestling was wrestling and athletes were athletes, and it was 2 alpha males getting thrown together. Maybe one guy wanted a singles push. Could you imagine having to depend on another guy or having to travel every day of your life on the road in a car for anywhere from 1 hour to 6 hours with another guy? Maybe your age, maybe older, maybe, and that's your life.
Maybe Pat Patterson.
Oh fuck! Jesus,
Maybe
He's
Yeah,
annoying.
seriously.
I'm just saying.
They go banana. No, but could you imagine having to depend on that? I don't think. I mean, I would think it would drive you insane.
It would, yeah.
Definitely.
Great talk. You know, I'm sorry.
I'm
Everybody's
thinking of
microphones went dead.
No, I'm thinking currently. I mean, like the one group that you can point to currently was what happened with Enzo and Cass. Enzo had so much heat on him, they decided to break him up. He gets fired from the company. Cass gets hurt. He comes back as an asshole. They're both out of a job. If you would have said those two would be jobless 3 years ago when they're tearing down NXT, 20 at the Barclays Center, and the chant's over and the gimmick's over, and they're arguably getting the loudest pop on TV when they go to the main roster.
Yeah, if you go old school, you think about like Jannetty and Michaels got in a fucking fist fight, and that broke them up, and they drove each other crazy. Animal, now that Hawk's dead, says, he was always fucked up. I had to carry him around. I had to do the finishes. I had to be. He's pretty fucking annoying now that he's older.
Really?
Then you had Arn and Tully going back to WCW, but Tully failed the drug test, and so he was done. And then Arn had to go back by himself because they wouldn't bring Tully in.
And take a pay cut. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
Look at Hart and Neidhart. Neidhart's had drug problems for. I take that back. They've said Neidhart allegedly has had drug problems.
No, I think they've openly talked about him being in rehab.
Well, he's been arrested for it, so
Yeah.
that'll do it. But I mean, look at the British Bulldogs, Davey Boy and Dynamite. They have to leave with all the shit that went on with the Rouge. Oh shit, we didn't mention the Rouge brothers with the knockout thing. Davey Boy and Dynamite never talked again because Davey Boy signed a contract behind his back and went back to WWF. Never spoke. They were fucking related.
Yeah.
Oh.
So not only does one end up being a star, the other one usually ends up being a fuck up. The one that doesn't head for stardom.
Yeah,
in a lot
or
of
in a
situations.
wheelchair with one leg and getting shit cut off and paralyzed essentially.
Are you
for the rest
talking
of your
about
life.
Dynamite Kid?
Probably. Well, I take that back. Not probably. In my eyes,
So
the best wrestler of all time.
Can you guys think of a tag team that came out together
They
as a
made
tag
two
team,
stars?
but split off and made 2 stars? Exactly right. Like what tag team did that happen?
I
to?
disagree with these guys being 2 stars, but Edge and Christian were both heavyweight champions.
That's pretty good.
That's
Never-
fair.
That's a
good one.
Right.
Never saw them as stars.
Me neither.
What about the
But
Hardys, for that matter?
The Hardy
I
Boys?
never looked at them as stars, though.
Same here.
Usually one of the tag team has to go down the tubes for the other one to.
Dudley's
usually
actually
that-
TNA. They both split up over there and had a pretty good successful solo careers.
Now, if you'd have to go way back to get guys like that or to get tag teams like that.
Hogan and Savage. Yeah.
They didn't come out as a tag
No, I'm
team. No.
kidding.
Did you like when they did that?
No.
Did you like when they put 2 gigantic stars together? and
It
did
wasn't
that
my
shit?
favorite.
The Rock and Sock connection.
Everyone
That
loved it
was
at the
funny.
time.
That was funny. The Rock and Mankind was
But
funny.
it was obvious what they were doing with Hogan and Savage. Even as a kid, you realized what that was setting up for.
Yeah, you were setting up a feud.
Yeah, turn them
so, I
against
mean-
each other and sell some pay-per-views.
That's what they did in the territories. They would set guys up for
Yeah.
feuds. Just like what you guys were saying the other day, what they did with Mr. Wrestling and Magnum TA. I'm just kidding.
So,
We were
Everybody's like-
saying that.
everybody's
Thank
like,
you for
who
remembering.
The fuck are these guys?
were there any other tag teams that went on to be? I mean, I guess the ultimate examples of the Warrior and Sting would be the 2 guys that went on.
Only 2 guys I know.
Well,
Austin and Pillman would have been there.
if you go really, really, I mean, this is back 60s, 70s. You got the Texas Outlaws. You got Rhodes and Murdoch.
Absolutely. There's a guy that, I mean, you're churning out a star. Like Harley Race was with Larry the Axe Hennig before he became a big star.
Yeah.
And I mean, see, man, I wanted to dig deep, but I know we don't want to go too out of the line. But you talk about the Blackjacks, you talk about the Valiants, the Samoans. I mean, the Samoans were the Moon Dogs. We didn't
The
mention
Moon Dogs.
The fabulous ones, Stan Lane and Steve Kern. Those were 2 guys that they didn't have much to do. Gino Hernandez and Chris Adams were big and world class. I know you guys don't know who these guys
no,
are.
I do.
Bockwinkel and
That's
Stevens.
who,
Oh,
Nick
fuck.
Bockwinkel?
I tell you guys have the network or not?
No.
So E made me think of it earlier. Pat Patterson. They did this thing where they did a round. They used to do these round tables 10 years ago, somewhere in there.
back before the network, but they had
Yes.
the like streaming service.
They had the WWE
They-
24/7.
They'd put it on there.
And Pat Patterson's on it, and these guys, it's J.J. Dillon, Pat Patterson, maybe Michael Hayes, who's in probably the number 2 tag team of all time. And they all get to, like, who's your greatest tag team of all time? And these guys are like, well, you know, now that we think about it, probably Patterson and Stevens. And I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, it was Nick Bockwinkel was the other guy. Nick Bockwinkel and Ray Stevens were a great tag team. It's like, Patterson and Stevens. They went to another guy, and they're like, boy, Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens. And I'm like, what the fuck? How are they just jerking this guy off because he's on the thing? Like, oh, yeah. I mean, Ray Stevens, more power to you, bombs away out in California or working in San Francisco. But Jesus Christ, Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens? That's the greatest tag team of all time?
Not
No?
in my eyes.
Anybody that have the old network look at that shit and just go, what the fuck? No,
A
No,
lot
I
of
guess
don't
people.
I'm
have it.
alone.
I
No,
don't
they're
have
like,
a network.
Great talk again.
A lot of people thought they were good work. I've heard other people say that.
That's fine. They drew money in California and Minnesota and Winnipeg. Give me a fucking break. No,
No, I
everybody.
mean,
No,
I don't
no.
know enough about it. I've just heard other people say that they were a great tag team, but I didn't know if it was based on
Christ.
two guys that became very big like big names in the
Well,
industry.
let's not treat Pat Patterson like he was the fucking Hulk Hogan of the 70s. He was not that. He was a wrestler.
And
He was
Andy
another wrestler.
Samberg will be joining us, Jake Peralta.
It's a great song. But
So
there's-
what's your Mount Rushmore then? Because I
we're
thought,
already done?
no, but I thought you would go back there. Like I don't. I mean, we're getting to an hour right now, so I don't know how long we planned on going.
Somebody else
Been more
start.
like 30
I
minutes.
had, I had a good question that doesn't in the show.
I'm waiting.
Gimmick
E.
matches. What good tag gimmick matches are there?
The best one was the scaffold.
Scaffolding
Scaffold,
matches.
yeah.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I couldn't think of anything. Is there any strap matches?
Survivor
or-
Series was all. I mean, that's
That's-
technically a gimmick tag team.
Yeah, that's
match.
true.
Now, you see, you bring this up, I can think of a Road Warriors match for just about every one of these that they put them in because it sold out and made money.
Sure.
These other guys, I mean, unless you're talking about the Rock and Roll Express and Midnight Express, not many others could do it. I mean, look at War Games. That's a tag team. Jesus, what are you? Can you guys fucking talk?
I'm
Yes.
considering what you're saying. Geez.
We're listening to you. You get. I mean, like I plan on you two carrying a lot of
Yes,
this.
and I
because
plan on
know,
you guys
Yeah,
throwing
no,
some
we-
shit in.
We're
But it's
all
War-
aware of War Games. If you had your tag team matches, War Games would probably be.
Ooh,
That's a
War
tag
Games.
team. That's a 10-man tag.
I know, but that
match.
would be a dominant tag team. It would probably be everybody's favorite tag teams, like the matches from that.
I'm gonna Google
Your
it.
tag team matches.
Yeah, they did Russian chain matches. They did scaffold matches. They did strap matches.
What's
they
your
did-
favorite Road Warriors match?
I'd have to put that first War Games.
That's what I'm saying. But it's a War Games. I mean, like we.
For sure.
I know. We understand what War Games are. I thought you were
Oh,
going to
snap.
speak more to it.
Go ahead.
Dusty Rhodes created the War Games matches?
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't believe they have not brought it back to WWE. They did it with NXT, but I don't know why they won't.
Well, it's not
do
the
it.
same. They didn't put the roof over it either.
Yeah,
So
plus
it's-
current wrestling shit, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
That's true.
You just think it'd be something easy to get some old fans back
Yeah, you're
that
right.
gimmick to watch
That's why it'll
because
never
it
happen.
would
if we're gonna talk about War Games,
Can't sell as many seats. Go ahead.
I really feel like if you did not put, so what was it, October '86, whenever Rhodes is coming out to go up against Ole and JJ, and then Nikita follows him out,
Right.
and then the crowd just goes nuts over it.
Mhm.
If you didn't put those two together, I question the success of the War Games because I feel like that kind of catapulted into, they won the Crockett tag team tournament.
That next year. Yeah.
And then you had the first War Games.
Mhm.
So
The superpowers.
right.
Yeah, superpowers and Four Horsemen. But like, did you guys? Okay, so that's two guys you're putting together, and we talked about Hogan and Savage. So, other teams that used to just get thrown together. If you watch like Tully and Arn, obviously they got thrown together out of necessity in their eyes. But could you guys name another great 2-star team?
Didn't Sergeant Slaughter and the Iron Sheik team up for a brief period there?
Those are like polar
That's
Well,
opposites.
You had
Colonel Mustafa.
There you go.
Fuck. How do you think of that? That's great
so you've-
shit.
so you've got
I mean,
you've
that's
got
a pickup.
Wyndham and Luger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a good one.
Yeah.
Who else?
Sting and Luger did for a while too.
Yeah.
mean,
I
you
fucking
put
like
those
Sting,
two-
man.
Sting and Luger was actually.
I feel like WCW threw guys together like that more than WWF did in that era of time. You go back with I loved Austin and Pillman, Hollywood Blondes.
Yeah.
I loved the gimmick. I love what they're doing. You could both see that they were building, and they're
Yeah, separately, I was an Austin fan and a Pillman fan. When they put that team together, I hated it.
I liked them better when they came together because I thought Brian Pillman stuff was kind of cheesy.
I thought it made him look small.
I liked whenever they put Pillman and Z-Man together.
Good team.
What?
Former U.S. Tag Team Champions.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah,
Sure.
whatever. Best color man in the biz.
That's
Eric
right.
Hicks.
What about Doom? No one's mentioned Doom.
Oh, yeah. Now we're talking.
Simmons and Reed.
And Nancy.
Nobody's mentioned the Fantastics.
Woman.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Love it.
We're
Fuck that is.
fantastic.
I love it.
Who is that? I don't even
Bobby
know the
Fulton and Tommy Rogers.
Yeah,
That's why
that's
nobody's
a
mentioned
it.
couple
No,
of no names.
What about Men on a Mission?
Oh yeah.
Oh, who was that?
Mom.
Mo,
And
Mabel, and there was the third one.
Mabel. Was
Oh
there a third
man,
one?
safest guy in the business. Go ahead.
There was a third one, right? It was Mo, Mabel, and one other guy, their manager, right?
Oscar.
Oh,
Oscar. Yep.
Oh, Phineas.
It had to start with an O.
Oh, the
Omar or
Godwins.
The
Fuck
Godwins,
yeah.
Phineas, and what was his other fucking?
It was Pig, Phineas,
Henry.
and Henry.
Henry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wayne-
the Godwins.
That's all we got to say about them.
APA.
Yeah, it was Hogg,
APA.
Henry Orphis
APA.
Godwin, and Phineas.
I got
Yeah,
one.
something Godwin. Yeah, it was Hogg and Pig were their initials. That's fucking.
Okay,
great.
one team I've not liked. I dig them individually. I just can't get into whenever they tag Undertaker and Kane together.
Really?
No.
It's one of those storylines that writes itself. We hate each other. We love each other. We hate each other. We love each other.
We got to get a show about the best announcers because I'll tell you, post-stroke Jim Ross going through hell, fire and brimstone. It's Kane.
I don't think he had a
fire
stroke,
me up
though.
every time. You think he was pre-stroke then?
It was Bell's palsy.
Oh well.
Post-stroke.
Yeah,
What-
whatever. You got
what
one
Not
of those
stroke,
balls.
Bell's palsy. My fault.
So this is more of a stable, obviously, but if you put any two guys from the Dangerous Alliance together,
You guys familiar with the Dangerous Alliance?
I remember, but I don't remember.
Paulie Dangerously
Paulie
led.
ran it.
Had Steve Austin. in it.
Austin, Rude,
Bobby Eaton.
Anderson.
Ravishing Rick Rude, I forgot.
Larry
One more.
Zbyszko.
Oh yeah.
Zbyszko was
Medusa was in that too, right? Am I wrong?
Oh, big Medusa fan over there. Ooh.
You like
Ooh.
monster
That
trucks
bikini,
too?
that bikini contest with Missy Hyatt.
What
Go-
about,
go find,
Missy
go find
Hyatt?
that.
Yeah.
What was the
you
got
tag
a
my team.
boner.
the York Foundation?
Oh God! Richard
Remember
Morton, Thomas Rich, Terrence
Yes.
Taylor. Boy,
The Red
who
Rooster.
are the ad
Red
wizards
Rooster.
who came up with that one?
What did he become after the Red Rooster? I forget.
Terry Taylor.
Terry
yeah.
Taylor.
yeah.
There was
He became retired.
He became an agent.
Exactly.
And then
Bullshit.
became like a big snitch, and everybody.
Yeah.
He was a big
And a
weasel
fucking
bag.
asshole
Huge.
that nobody liked.
Okay, just randomly coming across a team on our list that we have not mentioned, the Varsity Club.
Oh yeah.
Yep, that was another one. I always loved them. Syracuse, Michigan. The best part of it though is
Is it Kevin Sullivan?
Kevin Sullivan would be the devil worshiper, and he wore a hood, the red. It was just
But did you know that?
didn't make sense.
Did you know that was more than just Rotunda?
Steiner.
Williams,
Yeah, yeah.
Williams and Steiner.
Steiner. Did you
Dan
know
Spivey?
Dan Spivey? I didn't know Dan
Oh.
Spivey was in that until
Dangerous Danny Spivey.
I think last week. I was.
Where the fuck Spivey go? He go to Michigan State? No, we won't look that up.
I thought it was brilliant though, like
Definitely
because
not.
the wrestling singlets and the Letterman's coats, like that was. I thought that was a good gimmick. I'm surprised they haven't tried doing something like that.
Yeah, you know they tried. To
Don't give him any ideas,
They
man.
tried to recycle that at the end of WCW.
With who?
Those guys.
Oh, all of them 20 years later.
Like they did it for like 2 weeks. It just went nowhere. Like everything was going. You know what? You brought up Nasty Boys. We haven't even said anything about the Nasty Boys.
The Nasty Boys are beautiful.
Talked about the pit
They're
stop
beautiful
earlier.
Human
We totally
beings.
did.
I
Yeah,
fucking
but I
love the
thought that was
Nasty
before
Boys.
the show,
Oh, was it?
or was it during
all
the
bleeds
show?
together.
I don't know.
I'll give you another question real quick. When you thought of guys that were going to break out of a team, okay, so the Rockers, Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty, who do you think was going to be the big star out of that?
Jannetty
I
was
never
bigger.
considered him splitting.
I didn't either until the time that it happened. It wasn't like a thought in my
I was
mind.
too young to
I-
know that shit was going to happen.
I
man.
just thought at that time in that era that Michaels was too small. Like looking back on it, Michaels wasn't the biggest of guys.
Yeah, I
Like
was a
to-
Jannetty guy. Now
Well,
he can
obviously, he
barely
was the
fuck-
face of the group. You know,
Yeah,
after that whole Sean started being a prick. I mean, obviously, everybody became a Jannetty guy at that point.
Yeah, but now Jannetty can barely even talk.
Yeah, fair enough, but
Really?
storyline versus reality.
Bummer, dude.
Like if
Yeah.
you would have said the British Bulldogs, Davey Boy Smith's gonna be, I would have said no. If you just said the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart is going to be the star. All right.
Yeah, not without a fucking
yeah.
beard.
The beard was the biggest gimmick out of the Hart Foundation.
Yeah, it
though,
was.
them laughing and
Well,
the
Hart had the
goatee.
glasses. Neidhart had the beard.
Yep.
That's all they had. They were never heard from him after that.
Did you find anybody else on the list, Alex, that you wanted to throw out?
About the
Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens? Jesus Christ.
Their name was
You guys-
Ray Pat.
You guys remember the Dream Team?
No.
Valentine?
Valentine
Beefcake?
Greg the Hammer Valentine?
Yeah.
And Brutus Beefcake? No, huh?
Mm-mm.
Recently
Brutus
deceased Johnny Valiant is their manager.
Who?
Oh, the dynamic dudes.
They were bad. God, they were bad.
Shane Douglas,
and
Johnny
Ace.
Johnny Ace.
Yeah, boss. I'm looking real big today.
How about Douglas and Steamboat, man? I thought those guys were fucking money. I guess I'm the only one.
No,
I liked
they
Ricky the
they were
Dragon
good.
Steamboat.
What tag team?
Macho Man hit him in the throat with a ring bell, fuck him all up.
He had to learn to talk. Okay. Sorry.
Who didn't get over? Was there ever a tag team that you thought was going to be bigger?
Techno
than they
Team
were?
2000.
LOD 2000 with Sonny.
That didn't get over.
You
The
think
dynamic
I know.
dude sure as fuck.
Well,
the Ding Dongs didn't get over.
What about Draws? I mean, how pissed off were you when they added Draws to that group and Sonny for that matter?
We'll save that.
Horrible.
We'll save that for the Road Warriors
Not
show.
good-looking Sonny, but like the cracked out Sonny that was giving hand jobs for Three's Annex backstage.
Hey, did I tell you I
So-
went ahead and paid for that?
The hand job or the
No, the
Xanax?
Sonny Skype sessions.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I
How
wish
bad
I would
was
have.
it?
though.
You should.
Oh.
No, we should all take up a collection and do a 5-on-1.
You can pay to Skype with Sonny?
Yeah, no shit, dude. She'll do anything you want.
No, it's not like that, is
Yeah.
it?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
What's it cost?
Not a lot.
My guess, her bail's probably about 10 grand.
Yeah, I think
right
she's
now.
going back
Oh,
to
yeah, that's
prison.
Oh, for what?
Her dignity's part of the cost, but
So
For what?
Prostitution?
No, DUIs,
Oh.
drug possession.
Nobody's perfect.
Excuse me, alleged drug possession.
Kurt
alleged
Hennig was.
alleged.
Very true.
Jesus.
He'd
Alleged.
spit his fucking gum out and smack it.
Are you
every
guys
time.
Demolition
think-
fans or not?
Oh, yeah.
I like Demolition. They're on my Rushmore.
honestly, looking back, I feel like there wasn't much about Demolition other than the costumes.
But that was
Really?
the thing for me. The music, I mean, like I
Yeah, but
think
that's
that
why
that
that's why
was-
nobody really thinks of them anymore. They had nothing lasting that came out of that team, in my opinion.
Are they in the Hall of Fame?
No, not when. Not
Oh,
when,
they're suing them, aren't they?
Yeah. That's why a lot of guys are gonna have trouble getting in the Hall of Fame. Steiner brothers are not gonna be able to get in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, why?
They'll
Because
never
Scott's
fucking
threatened to kill everybody.
You
at,
talk about
at
your
headquarters?
Mount Rushmore. If Steiner Brothers ain't up there, I seriously question your sanity. Because I mean, those were to me in
There's
my
a team that doesn't
in
get talked
my
about
in
anymore.
my fucking eyes, they were the Steiner Brothers were it. Like they were the fucking
Hey,
most iconic
right
tag
there with you.
team, dude.
For what Scotty
Like,
could
come
do
on,
in the
man.
ring at his size, doing the
Frankensteiner?
the
What the fucking
Frankensteiner, and the
Frankensteiner.
work that they could do.
Yeah,
They
for sure.
they were one of the first tag teams that were really versatile and
Power guy and aerial
And
guy.
then, for matter of fact, Scott Steiner's
Mix
up
of
on
that.
my Mount Rushmore twice, and he looks different because he's with Buff Bagwell up there too, right? Fucking Steiner and Buff Bagwell and Steiner. He's
No.
Let's go, Eric. Let's go. Come on, give me
I'm
more.
saying,
give me
that's
more.
who the fuck's
I
on
want more of
my
this.
my Mount Rushmore is
I
fucking
want
Scott,
you to
Scott
say-
Steiner twice.
I want you to say, let's talk about the best tag teams. Let's go Scott Norton and Conan. Like something
Oh,
like that.
Yeah, let's talk NWO Wolfpack.
See?
No, man. I'm seriously
so,
though.
let's start. What's your Rushmore?
My Rushmore is the Steiner brothers,
Okay.
and then
Just
Steiner
them
and
by
Bagwell.
themselves.
Twice.
I told you,
So
Scott
there's-
Steiner's on that motherfucker
Okay,
twice.
so what's your other two teams? You got those two.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
there's
start
technically
over.
4 faces there, so.
I know,
yeah.
but we're gonna do 4 teams.
Oh, 4 teams.
So
okay.
you got those two.
All right, so yeah.
Steiner and Bagwell.
Yeah,
Those
I
are the
fucking
best
like
Mount
them, dude.
Rushmore I've ever heard in my fucking life.
Hey,
Shame.
I'm buff and I'm the
You remember?
stuff.
Yeah, I could.
He would just do. He would just do the quick strut and then the.
To all my freaks out there, let's go. Holler
that
if you
man-
hear me.
All right,
with 2
two
more
more.
that
teams.
Mendeja
And
was
then,
hot. That was with them.
good looker.
Yeah.
And then yeah, Legion of Doom.
There's 3 teams.
Man.
Scooby and Shaggy.
Yeah. No. Gosh, you know, Harlem Heat. Maybe.
Shaggy and Sting. They just put
Maybe
out an
Harlem
album.
Wow, so that's it. So
No, yeah, I like Sting like a lot, but I can't remember him in any iconic tag teams.
So what's crazy about that though is 3 of the 4 of yours are from WCW. And I figured you'd be more of, like your brother, more of like an early '90s WWF guy.
Right, but I mean, fucking, who did they have that was really any good as far as tag teams go back then? I mean, that is my era. You're not kidding.
The head
but
shrinkers.
Oh yeah.
I like them.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, man. I like Natural Disasters. They weren't the most popular. They never really reached the heights, but I really liked those guys. The fat dudes, they were fucking cool, man.
I love their ring gear though.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, I thought that was great.
Fucking Typhoon had like the waves on his and shit. And
Great
everything.
Earthquake had the
figures.
seismic wave.
Yeah, the Richters are like
Great
that,
action figures.
So I got to go with Natural Disasters, the Steiner brothers, Buff Bagwell and Steiner, and
Fantastic.
then
And
Legion
high
of Doom.
energy.
Legion of Doom.
Oh, wait,
High
no,
energy.
who?
Legion of Doom.
Legion of Doom.
Coco Beware and Owen Hart.
That's right, baby.
What's yours, E?
Shit, I don't really have
The
one, man.
Beverly Brothers.
Was it the
No,
Beverly?
no.
It
You don't have
was.
a
It
Mount
was Mike
Rushmore?
Enos. Who was the other Beverly
Wayne
brother?
Bloom.
Wayne Bloom. Wow. I don't know. I mean, obviously the LOD's up there. Geez, you caught me so unprepared. Like I didn't know this was coming.
Right.
Yeah, we're doing a wrestling.
I don't know, man.
show.
I you know me. I'm not a favorites type of guy. I just enjoy programs.
He likes
God,
he likes who
you
I like, but
are
he doesn't want to say that. That's exactly what's going on. He's like, God damn it, Eric took the fucking best one.
Yeah, they took Buff Bagwell. It's over with. Without Buff, I just was thrown for a loop. He took my answers.
Did you see Buff Bagwell on Gigolos?
No.
He was on an episode of Gigolos. Like
What
he
the
was
fuck is Gigolos, and why are you watching it?
It was a huge deal in wrestling. He was on Gigolos like 2 or 3 years ago. It was a show on Showtime.
How's he look these days? Buff?
He's still
About
in
the
shape, but
same.
he was getting paid to go like be a man prostitute.
If I could, I would.
That's a gigolo.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Okay, so mine would be the Freebirds.
Buff Bagalow.
Big E's in jail back there.
He's been
on the
he's been in
screen.
jail for like the last 30 minutes.
I like it. I'm comfortable in my own little cell.
So mine would be the Freebirds, Road Warriors, obviously, and not just because you're here, but I just feel like they
Oh, thanks
did so
for
much.
throwing the greatest tag team ever on there.
Well, everything like I'm a huge Cornette mark, and everything that he says, like the Midnight Express has to go on there just because I know so much of their backstory and what they did and the heat they got. So I would put them there, and then probably
Dusty and Koloff.
Demolition,
Oh.
just because they were the version of LOD that I saw more of, or you know. I just saw more of them. The Hart Foundation, obviously. I mean, like I like them. There were a lot of guys I liked through the '90s, but once you got to the Attitude Era and when WCW was
So
big,
you
it
liked the
kinda
Hart
cut off.
Foundation in their first run because they were heels. I hated them.
They just,
You know what I mean?
just-
I didn't
but
like
I-
them. I
I
was too
like
young to
their-
understand that.
But I like the hot pink. I mean, I like their outfits.
Really?
I thought
You
their,
watch Gigolos and love Hot Pink. I'm
no,
making
but
a list.
I thought I thought their ring gear was tight. I mean, like I just
It was.
like
They had
stuff
great
like
ring
that
gear.
made me. I like teams more because of that.
Yeah.
I remember like when you were playing with your wrestlers and you would make your own little tag team matches, I would always pair the guys up that had similar trunks on. Like, didn't make much sense, but okay, well, they both have black and red,
not
so they
horrible.
look better together when you're pairing them together. Like, those were the kind of things that I don't know, I paid more attention to.
All makes sense.
I think factions also killed the tag team. I think there was a point in time in wrestling when factions took over New Age Outlaws.
It's cyclical, really.
You know, WCW or WWF had all the stuff going with Nation of Domination.
Oh, yeah.
the-
Nation of Domination.
The
They-
Ministry.
But there was so many groups of 4 and 5. I think that cut away from tag team wrestling. And then
You know what? We haven't mentioned the Quebecers. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was thinking about the
Mounties?
Mountie earlier today.
We're not the Mounties.
so that's my list.
There's the finger.
I'll stop. The Von Erichs haven't been talked about a lot either, but it depends on what Von Erichs.
I tried, and I was met with a
Kevin was always
swift silence.
Kevin was always my favorite, but I don't know who you'd pick out of the tag team.
Thomas
I don't know
Maroon
who
in
you'd
chat
put
gives
together.
his Mount Rushmore to LOD, the Hardys, Young Bucks, and Mega Powers.
Oh, he's going newer. I see what he's. I
Young
understand
Bucks. Come on.
I don't know about the Mega
Who are
Powers.
the Young Bucks?
Exactly.
It's a new,
No, really, who are they?
newer,
They're a dude-
independent.
There are some guys we could go watch at the KC Hall on a Thursday night
Oh,
for
snap.
$22.
Oh.
22 bucks, I ain't paying that
Jesus,
much.
22 bucks?
All in.
For the Young Bucks, fuck you.
I'm just gonna see if Thomas is
Hey,
gonna
give me 20
respond
bucks to fill that seat.
I'd go to All In.
I don't. So in theory, yes, Edge and Christian both became big stars, but did they really?
No.
They both had belts, but did they really?
Did they transcend wrestling? No, but they were big stars inside of wrestling.
Could they carry a pay-per-view on their own? No. Did they? I mean, I
mean,
Christian
so.
definitely
I
could
don't,
not. Edge depends on who he was working with.
Yeah, maybe.
Edge held the belt like 10 times.
How many times?
I think 10.
10?
again, that is part of. I think that's part of us getting older and not seeing guys as stars.
Like the most over thing he did was him being in bed with Lita in the ring.
I mean, was Billy Gunn a star?
In the ring? Not really.
Not by himself.
But
Not by himself. Not by himself.
Billy B.A. Gun, yeah. No,
Didn't
not
he have
by
an
himself.
Elvis gimmick for a
Was
while?
John was
Really?
was
Billy Gunn?
I didn't know that.
It was quick.
Yeah.
It was like 2 weeks.
Oh, what's his name? John Layfield. What?
John
Rob
Miel.
Bradshaw. Yeah, fucking
He's not a star to me. I watched that guy.
Justin
get his
Hawk
ass
Bradshaw.
beat so
Totally
many
agree.
times by people. They pushed him to the moon, and he was nobody. I mean,
he was APA, pal.
Mark Henry.
Ugh,
No, I
horrible.
watched him get beat by guys that were a fifth of his size. Like there's things you do that you can't.
Come
back
back
from.
from.
Yes,
Right.
I mean I feel that way anyway.
Like Mark Merrow getting sable bombed.
Oh.
You don't come back from
Can't
that.
come back from that, babe.
on your drive, if you have time, listen to
Johnny
the
B.
Sable
Bad.
edition.
Fucking Johnny B.
Something to
Bad,
wrestle.
man.
Hey, you know another team I
Wow.
love?
Really
That's
good.
nostalgia
Owen
there.
Hart and Jeff Jarrett. Love that tag team.
Johnny
Because
B.
Deborah?
Deborah. Yeah, it was fucking awesome.
He's
Flat
had the-
nuts,
What about
the
Armstrong and
guitar.
Jarrett? I mean, Jesse James and Jarrett. The Road
when
Dog.
They first started, the Road Dog.
Oh, when he was
He was the actually.
Man,
That's where he got
dude,
the name
dead,
the Roadie.
Dead period.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Dead period.
All right, Alex. Let's
Which
hear
which
yours,
Armstrong
baby.
was he?
What about Razor Ramon and the 1, 2, 3 kid?
James Armstrong.
Jesus.
All right.
I got it.
All right.
BJ Armstrong.
So I've got the Steiners, Road Warriors, the Rockers, just because
Oh, go ahead.
I was a kid.
You don't have to explain
And
yourself.
Arn and Tully.
Yours?
Oh,
Arn
Arn Tully fan.
Oh.
That's a good one. Just not a Rockers fan. Just never liked them. Just thought they were a steal. Just thought they were a copy.
Okay, you can't use Legion of Doom and the Road Warriors. That's the only thing they count as one.
Fuck.
You're not getting Hawk and Animal's face up there twice.
That's a fair point.
Only.
I don't know. I got
only-
Steiner up there
Only
twice.
Scott Steiner can be on the list
Yeah.
twice.
This was tough because I had to decide between. I've got Rock and Roll Express and Midnight Express. The Steiners and the Freebirds kind of all stuck together. And then obviously number one is the Road Warriors. But I said Road Warriors, Steiner brothers, because Scott Steiner was Kurt Angle before Kurt Angle. And I've said that many times.
That's a good
Scott
call.
Steiner was?
Yeah.
Right. I can
And you know
see
what?
that.
He was a lot bigger in the early '90s than I remembered as a kid.
Steiner-
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like he was nowhere
When he
blown
was
up
mo-
like
when he
he
was still
was
mullet Steiner?
97, 98, but
When he still had the mullet, you mean?
when he would wear
he
like
didn't look
the,
like somebody had stuck an air pump in his ass.
Well, as soon as he shaved his head, it immediately made the rest of his body look bigger.
Oh, my. Yeah, but it
Remember
also
he used
looked
to
like he
wear,
had
like,
two
the
fucking
pink and the
softballs in his
pastel
Oh, that's fair,
fucking-
too.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah,
gonna say.
like-
When
The steroids had nothing to do with it. It was
when
all
he was
hair.
doing the
Onesie.
singlet,
Singlet,
the
yes,
singlet
yes.
with the neon colors and
Yep,
stuff.
I remember that.
He was.
yes.
I didn't realize his body was.
Oh yeah, he's
like,
a
he was
fucking
jacked
big
back
dude.
then.
He wasn't
he
as
was
big as he
jacked.
was
Yeah.
when he was with NWO, but he was a fucking big guy back then.
He ended
for
up
sure.
he ended up getting drop foot too. That killed him.
Yeah.
You know what? You guys know what drop foot is?
No,
It's just a condition to where
Your arches drop?
no, it almost like you can't feel your foot moving or like the back of your foot, and it kind of drags. If you watch some stuff he did
Kerry
When
Von
you-
Erich had it.
when he no, he had gone
Oh,
foot.
he had gone foot. Sorry.
His foot was gone.
Ooh.
Yeah, amputated. But anyway, Steiner, when he got drop foot, he was fucked. It happened at the end. He had a bad back, surgeries, all that stuff contributed. Road Warriors, Steiners, and I really think people have stopped talking about the Steiners. Not sure why. But then it would be. I'll say the Freebirds and the Midnight Express. Rock and Roll Express just don't make it. If we're gonna put somebody else on Mount Rushmore one day.
So, yeah, I think Rock and Roll Express hurt themselves the longer they stayed around. Like some of the shit Ricky Morton's done in the last 10 years.
Well, they're still around. I mean, as recently as like 3 years ago, maybe they won a tag championship.
As
in some
recently
independent.
as 3 weeks ago, they probably won a tag team
Well,
championship.
yeah, so they're still
that
working
I've
on it.
heard
Never
anyway.
ends.
At the ICP shows and the Juggalo events and shit
What?
like that. They have the meeting of the Juggalos, and they always do like a wrestling
Gathering of the Juggalos,
Yeah,
sir.
sorry, didn't mean to piss you off there, Clowny. Or whatever. What are they called?
Juggalos.
Juggalo.
That's right. I mean, you'd be a juggalette. Those bitch titties. Oh shit, sorry.
That's good.
Okay,
Good
so
stuff.
real quick, if we just went around and did like one or two honorable mentions, who you got?
Mine's obviously the Rock and Roll Express. I'm only
I don't
doing
know.
one.
Give me a sec.
I'm gonna go Doom. They were fun, man.
There you go.
I like that.
I like Doom.
Those masks.
I'm gonna go with Doom too because Woman was like the first. I really liked her before
Nancy?
she got. Like
Where she got killed.
before she came back with Flair when Sullivan came back to book. I liked the
Was
whole
Flair
thing.
a
The
part of any-
Headbangers?
I don't know. Was Flair a part of any like major? I know he's part of Four Horsemen, obviously, but was he like a major named tag team?
He
He was part of
Flair-
Evolution.
He tagged with Valentine back in the 70s.
Look at this.
They had a name. What was their
See,
name?
I don't know.
Nothing.
No.
Wasn't Batista
He
and
teamed
Flair?
with his dad. No.
Batista and Flair were the tag team of Evolution, right?
Hmm?
So I mean, that was
I don't
kind of
know.
his thing. They had a title run.
True.
What do you know?
Just
Yeah,
saying.
but Flair and Valentine, Johnny Valentine, and then Greg Valentine. Tag team champs down in Mid-Atlantic. You're always watching Mid-Atlantic.
Johnny-
Yeah, that's my thing.
Johnny B. Bad and who did he tag with?
Cactus Jack at Battle Bowl or what?
Yes,
Like
And
the
they-
tag team
the
of Mankind and Cactus Jack. Didn't they do? He did some weird shit. where he-
Faces of Foley. The three
Yeah,
Faces of Foley.
That's right.
tagged himself. Whoa.
Give us a fucking runner-up. Come on, Mang.
Ah. Ming.
Really?
Ming, huh?
Mang-
Oh,
oh,
Ming. I remember.
whoa.
There you go,
Ming.
head shrinkers.
Whoa.
Or not head
No.
shrinkers.
Faces
Barbarian.
of Fear?
With Barbarian and Ming. What were they?
Faces of
I
Fear.
don't know.
Was Faces of Fear?
I like those
Or if you
fucking
go-
Ming, though,
go-
man.
I
He
know.
did
Go
that-
Haku and
Haku.
Andre.
What was his
Yeah.
fucking move that he did?
The grip.
The Tongan Death Grip.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where did that go? I don't even
throat.
fucking remember.
The
It's been
throat.
so long. I was at. I fucking love Ming.
God.
Oh, man.
Such a beast.
Ser-
That dude was
Seriously
apparently
hurt
the
some
baddest
people.
ass dude who ever walked, though.
Ming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's,
Sorry.
he's consistently the biggest. Like when they talk about tough guys backstage, it's always
Ming?
Haku.
Haku.
God bless you.
Haku was, huh?
All
Who's
right.
your runner-up?
I got Minnesota Wrecking Crew.
Which combination?
Ole and Arn.
'Kay.
Just, I've not seen any of the Ole and Gene stuff.
Yeah.
So,
What was Jesse and Jesse the Body and Adrian Adonis' team?
The
Nor-
East-West connection.
East-West connection.
so
yeah.
which was the East-West and which was the North-South? Because I know there's an East-West connection and there's a North-South connection.
There's a
and Adonis,
North-South.
and Adonis was in both of them.
No shit.
Looking
Patera?
it up.
I'll do it now.
Patera? He's out. T.O.'s checking out.
See you, buddy. Have a good one.
All right. The North-South connection.
I'm gonna have to Google it.
I want to know this. Here is this is
Dick
bet-
Murdoch.
They called them the North-South connection.
83 to 85. Adonis formed a tag team with Dick Murdoch called
Yeah.
the North-South Connection.
They were the tag team champs in WWF, but I didn't know they were called the North-South connection. Who called
This
them
is
that?
true. I did.
Well, this is fucking news to me.
They won the WWF tag titles off of Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas, apparently, in
I
There's a-
knew
'84.
that.
There's a team we didn't mention.
Well, there were a couple of
Sure.
ugly motherfuckers.
Yeah, there's
though.
two people that
Jesus.
didn't like each other. And by that I mean fucking hated each other's guts.
Wyndham and Rotundo.
That's right.
U.S. Express.
That's right. This is before your guys' time. This is before your wrestling time.
I remember Mike Rotunda.
Yeah, when he was young. I'm talking about
He was
when
never young.
Did we tell everybody, both people watching,
Both.
what we're doing next week? Well, I mean, we've got listeners.
What are we doing next week, Corey?
The way it looks, we're gonna do cage matches.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
fucking
miss it.
love cage matches.
You're gonna miss it?
That's the third. I'll be out of town. I'm leaving today. I'm leaving this tonight.
Oh.
Driving to Maine.
Oh,
Remember we
will
talked about
be
that
doing
earlier?
a show
I do,
next
heck.
week?
Yeah, might as well make
Yeah.
sure you get Brian in here a little early.
Well, make sure we're here at work.
It's the third. Oh, that's a good point.
Oh,
we
yeah.
don't know if the office is open next week at all. Anyway,
Folks, we plan on doing a show next week.
you never know. The office has a tendency to close up that entire week.
Really?
It has a tendency.
Has it happened before?
Several times.
Oh, okay. Well,
But
all right.
I'm not saying it will with this many. We'll talk about it off the air. But there's a chance.
Telling me there's a chance.
Telling you there's a chance.
So
yeah,
next
we're
week,
gonna do cage matches. We're gonna do
next episode. We shouldn't say next week. We should say next episode.
next episode will be
cage
about,
matches.
about the cage match.
Okay, here's a question. Of the five of us and the Three Horsemen, I love saying it that.
That's true.
Well, we've got
Who's the obvious
advisors.
tag team?
Got advisors.
Who's the tag team that takes it all? Oh, you two, huh?
Hmm.
Any tag team that doesn't include me is just a piece of shit.
I'm pretty sure you guys are a tag team.
Yeah.
The brothers.
E squared.
E
Oh.
squared.
E squared.
Can't use that.
Oh.
What would you guys? Okay, what would you guys call your tag team?
Big Dick Hicks. No, that's not right. How
Jesus
about
Christ. It's the
it
second
just
version of
came, it just
ECW,
came
or
right
what
off
is
the top of the
this?
head. So I mean, you know,
Fucking
Dumb and
Juggalo
Dumber.
convention.
Which one's which?
Yeah, well, you got to have the big boss man involved in some way, shape,
Ray
or
Trailer over
form.
there.
BBJ, Big Boss Man Jr.
I like it. That's a good one, man. You
Yeah.
can pass. You
could.
can pass.
I want to be the guardian angel though, rather.
The fucking worst iteration of anything he ever did.
pretty bad.
Big Bubba.
Oh,
Big Ray Trailer.
God, the guardian angel Ray. What was he like? One of those guys in New York?
Yeah, exactly what he was. One of those guys like a
Does
more
that still exist? That
guardian angels. I don't know.
it has to.
It was like a motorcycle.
They're all
game
80.
type
no.
Thing, right?
No, they were a bunch of guys walking around like khakis and white T-shirts and red berets.
Yeah, something weird.
Fuck, I don't remember that.
You
More like-
would
they
have
were like
seen stories about him on
Cargo
the news.
khakis too, though. We're not talking like pussy ass pleated shit here. We're talking full pockets that could be considered tactical.
Oh my
See, I don't
god.
remember that part.
Tactical khakis.
Tactical khakis.
Oh shit.
It's one of those groups that you'd see like something on Inside Edition.
Right. Here in interior New York, a group of 30-something men have banded together and said no to all the crime in their
Just
neighborhood.
the worst shit you can think
It
of.
was pretty bad.
But anyway.
Pretty bad.
Yeah, we're gonna do cage matches next week.
Hey, you guys want to hear an interesting little fact?
Yep.
I accidentally hit their stop recording button around the 33-minute mark.
So we'll have to pull all the audio off YouTube.
Yeah, it's no big deal. We got it all on YouTube, but you know, I did that.
This fucking guy.
I must have hit it with my elbow whenever I was relaxing. You're better off with Brian, I'm telling you. I can start it, but who says anything about finishing?
It's the first time I've ever heard anybody say your but anyway. Okay.
Indeed.
Well,
How did we do?
I think we did good.
We did pretty
We
good.
gotta
man.
wrap it up though, yeah.
That's what we're doing right now. Who's the best tag team of all time?
Steiner Brothers.
I don't pick favorites. But if
Steiner
I had to
Brothers.
guess, shit, I don't know, man.
Steiner Brothers.
God.
There's too many different. Best is hard. Win best.
If I had to say one,
And you got to judge them against their enemies, like who they, they main programmed against. Because you can't be great without a great enemy. Just throwing that out there.
Briscoes, the Funks.
Funks were great.
Jack
man.
and
They all
Jerry,
were great.
man.
You know, I liked watching tag teams. I'll just put it that way. I didn't turn the channel if it was a halfway decent tag team. I'm watching it.
Not if the Killer Bees were on.
Was not a huge fan, to be honest with you. of Killer
No
Bees.
Killer Bees.
Fair enough.
I saw them once
No.
live. Once. 85. I was 4.
What about the Beverly Brothers? Did you ever see them live?
I never saw them live. They had cool ass purple capes, didn't they? Wasn't that them?
Yes, they did,
Yeah.
sir.
White tights and purple capes.
Okay.
Who was their leader?
The Genius.
The
Lanny
Genius.
Poffo.
Oh, it was the Genius. Wasn't he with Dean Douglas for a while too?
Dead period.
Dead period. Questions.
I mean Shane Douglas.
I don't know.
No, it would have been Dean at the time, but
I just don't know.
Yeah, me either,
The
man.
new Rockers, Leif Cassidy and Marty Jannetty.
Al Snow.
That's right.
Everybody loves a little head,
I like
yeah.
that. Al and Head were a good tag team there.
Jeez.
all right, guys, good show. We will
For
catch you
sure.
all next week.
Who's the greatest tag team of all time?
I gotta go with Steiners.
Okay.
Steiners, baby. That's
I got the last word. It's the Road Warriors.
Oh.
By the way, for
We're
those of
good.
you watching,
Probably true.
quick plug. This is a national tag belt. Lighting's kind of bad. It's used in the early 80s.
Oh, that's actually doing it really good though.
Yeah,
There you
it
go.
is. It looks really good.
There you go.
That's a beautiful
I'm a
belt.
belt freak. We'll do a belt show one day.
We should.
We should, yeah.
All right, guys.
We
We'll
should
catch
have
y'all
a
next
real
week.
wrestling match. Is
Oh.
what we should do.
Somebody
Like
come in
we
the
should just
studio,
all
right?
get in and have like a Royal Rumble with all of us and have a wrestling match.
Anyway,
Eric gets the last word. For Big E, for T.O., for Eric, for Alex, I'm Corey the Wrestling Snob. That's the Three Horsemen Show. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for joining us.
adios.
Bye-bye.
See ya.